Have you ever walked into a really cute shop and saw some really amazing artwork for sale and thought, hey, how did that get there? Today, I'm pulling back the curtain on how I got my Risograph prints into Tender Loving Empire, one of the biggest indie shops in Portland, Oregon, including exactly what I make, what the consignment looks like with them, how I print my editions at Outlet PDX. I'm gonna share my Risograph printing process, but I also wanna share what it means to put yourself out there financially as an artist, because I truly started out with sad little checks for like $12. But recently I got a check for almost $500 for selling my work at Tender Loving Empire. Let's get into it. First off, what is risograph printing? The final artwork looks a lot like a screen print, but the process is more similar to an old school mimeograph duplicator. The screen printer uses soy-based inks inside of colored drums, and every pass adds a layer of color. You can think of it in terms of screen printing if you're familiar with it. Screen printing requires pushing ink through a stencil with squeegee, which is very manual and very time consuming. But risograph, you basically tell the risograph duplicator what to do, and it spits out print after print with the same vibrant layered textures. Risograph printing is like screen printing's weird Japanese cousin who just wants to go fast and cheap. Artists started adopting risograph printing in the early 2000s as a more affordable and eco-friendly way to create this dreamy, imperfect textured look that a lot of screen printing can offer. Digital printers can't replicate what risograph printing can do, and so that's what initially drew me to this medium in 2017. When I first moved to Portland, Oregon in 2018, it was such an expansive time, and I remember visiting Tender Loving Empire's store one day and thought to myself, I would really love to see my work here. And eventually got lucky and I went back to the store and one of the buyers was there. I struck up a casual conversation with her and then followed up with an email, and then they placed their first order with me. My first products with them were my buttons. Tender Loving Empire works with me on a 50-50 consignment, which means a 50-50 split. For example, I sell my buttons with them for $4, which means that when they sell my button for $4, I get $2. I was really excited to start selling prints with them because my prints are a lot higher priced and I enjoy making them more than I do making the buttons. My Strawberry Lake print, for example, I sell it for $30, which means that when they sell it, I get $15 for that. At first, when I was selling with Tender Loving Empire, I would get these really sad little checks. I remember I got a check for like $6 and I was thinking, what am I doing working for a $6 check? But then the next time I got a $12 check. Eventually I got a $40 check, then $80, and then eventually I started getting consistent $200 monthly checks. And then this last time I got almost a $500 check. This was the moment I thought, okay, this is real, and I need to lean more fully into Tender Loving Empire. So after I received this last check, I emailed the buyer. I told her I really appreciated the last check, and I am someone who is struggling to make sales with my art, and I would really appreciate more opportunities with Tender Loving Empire to keep checks like this coming. And I was really honest with where I was coming from, and she responded right away. And in fact, she added more prints to the next order that she placed with me, prints that they had never carried before, prints like my print Clarity and Butterfly Turkey Tail. These are risograph prints of my collages that I make, and the buyer also placed a big order with prints that they had carried in the past, like my Strawberry Lake and my Curiosity print. So here's what I learned from selling in stores. It can take time to develop a business relationship. That's just the name of the game, is you just have to prove that you're trustworthy. Patience is really important. Consistency in pricing and quality ensure trust between the store and the artist. You should share new work. When you share your new work, you show the shop that you're not just a one-trick pony and that you are an artist who makes new things and have more offerings. And finally, you should ask for what you want. So this is something that I've been working on, and you really have to practice this, but asking for what you want is so important. And if I hadn't messaged the buyer and said, look, I really want to get more checks like this, then she wouldn't have placed orders for more prints. So asking for what you want takes a little bit of courage, but it also takes practice. So the more you ask for what you want, the easier it is to keep advocating for yourself. Okay, so let's Risograph print Strawberry Lake. I've been printing at Outlet PDX since I moved to Portland in 2018. It is this really wonderful Risograph printing studio in Portland, Oregon, that's located on Northeast Sandy Boulevard. First, you need to take their Risograph Basics class. This class is a really great way to understand the Risograph printing process and how to create files for whatever project you're working on. Once you've taken this class, then you can book studio time with them in 1 hour increments. For this reprint of Strawberry Lake, I booked an hour and also reprinted my print Curiosity. The studio assistant that day was Miranda, who helped me load and unload ink drums, swap colors, and do Risograph troubleshooting. Strawberry Lake is a 3-color print. So first I start with a yellow layer because that is the lightest layer. I wanted this yellow to be a little bit more saturated because it is a lighter color compared to the fluorescent pink and the aqua blue that we use for the second and third layers. So we spent some time on this layer to make sure that it was really saturated and that all the yellow was showing through. Once we got the yellow layer figured out, then we moved on to the fluorescent pink layer. And I love this combination of the yellow and then the pink because orange is my favorite color. So once you put the fluorescent pink on top of the yellow, then you start getting these really rich oranges and you can see some reds start to develop. And then the final layer in this print is the aqua blue layer. And I love how the aqua blue somehow makes everything so creamy looking and so diffused. And I'm really happy with the way that my 3rd edition came out. The cost for printing at Outlet PDX breaks down like this. Outlet charges for each layer, how many impressions you make, so how many prints you make, and whether or not you use their paper. Here's the math for printing my prints that day. To print 200 of 2 different 3-color prints, it cost me $108 for printing plus $15 for booking the hour with an assistant. So in total, it's $123 for 200 prints. This breaks down to about 61 cents per print, which is incredibly affordable for these beautiful art prints. And Risograph printing is insanely affordable. One thing that I really wish I knew earlier about selling artwork in stores is that if you feel really excited about a store and think that your work could be a good fit, you should go for it and you shouldn't hesitate. Bring samples, say hi, follow up. All these things add up and they're really important to get your work out there. And it doesn't have to be a perfect pitch. For example, my first casual email to the buyer at Tender Loving Empire changed everything for me, even though it wasn't perfect. But the act of pressing send on that email really changed everything for me. And you never know which small step will, down the line, bring you a check for $500. So it's really important just to try. So that is how I make my Risograph prints and how I work with Tender Loving Empire. But being an artist isn't just about business. It's also about finding joy and balance in the process. In the next video, I want to take you with me to go to the warehouse at Tender Loving Empire so that I can drop off my order. I'm going to show you the little creature comforts that I get for myself and the little rituals that keep me going as a working artist. If you want to learn more about selling your artwork in stores and how to determine what stores will sell your work best, please check out this video. And if you want a copy of Strawberry Lake for yourself, please click the link below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in part 2.